Hi, and welcome to this session of Springdale Today. My name is Mary Jordan, and today we have with us Jennifer Worthy from Sonora Elementary School and Allie Passmore from Parson Hills Elementary School, who are going to be talking to us a little bit today about an experience they had involving a kidney transplant. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we talked a little bit about this before, but just so people can see just the family business that you guys have got going, you both went through Springdale schools, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. What schools did you guys attend?
I attended Walker Elementary, Southwest Junior High, and Springdale High School.
And I attended Walker Elementary, Helen Tyson Middle School, Southwest Junior High, and HAR-BER High School.
We are thrilled that you guys stayed with us, and we're excited that you're here today. And it's I regret that you had the experience, but we're really looking forward to finding out what you guys experienced. Now, what can you tell me about the circumstances and kind of the timeline that led for you guys to be in a situation where Jennifer needed a kidney transplant?
Well, in the 21-22 school year, that was when we were really coming back from COVID, like no mask, and I think a lot of teachers would agree that that was just a really hard year, just getting used to everything, being different, like the kids being, coming in different. They've just had 2 years of absolute craziness. And so I was so tired and I just thought it was normal teacher tired. I had some like random symptoms of I got high blood pressure, and I've never had high blood pressure before. I had some itchy skin in the winter time, but it was winter time, and I got medicine for the blood pressure, and the itchy skin went away. And so I didn't really think about it that much. The only thing that kept the whole entire year was the extreme exhaustion. And so when I had the blood pressure issue, they did some routine blood work, and they advised me to see a nephrologist, a kidney doctor. And something I've learned during this process is Northwest Arkansas really has a shortage of them. And so I was referred in October, and I didn't get an appointment till the end of April. And so by the time I got to my appointment in April, they did some blood work. And then the next morning, I was doing my morning meeting in my class, and I got a call from the nurse that told me I needed to go to the emergency room right then. And I said, well, I'm teaching. Can I do it after school? And they said, no, right now. And then I said, well, can I go home first and pack a bag or something? And they said, no, this is an emergency. You need to be there right now. And so I'm a little stubborn. So I drove myself there. My husband was in the passenger seat because he also teaches at the same school. And I get there, and within the hour, I had a dialysis port put in. I was told that they can't believe that I hadn't stroked out. I had half the amount of blood you were supposed to have in your body. They said if my body was like a car engine, I had less than half a tank of gas, and the gas was my blood. And I was told within the first 20 minutes of being taken back that my kidneys were working at like 4% and that I would need a kidney transplant. So when I say my life changed in 15 minutes, it literally changed in 15 minutes.
Well, and what was the cause that was leading to the dysfunction of your kidney?
So upon, once they started running some tests, my kidneys were too damaged to even biopsy to get the definitive answer. They were later able to come to it. But in college, I had some, it was like a form of vasculitis, and it's an autoimmune. It's called Hemlock-Schonklin-Purpura vasculitis, which is a really big name. But it was like a rash that I had, and I got it during my MAT year whenever I was working on my action research. So my doctors were like, this is stress related, this is fine. And so I went on to have 2 children. Everything was fine. But it was just laying dormant, and, where I couldn't see it on the outside, but it was attacking my kidneys. There's actually a lot of things that can do that people don't realize. I've just been shocked by the whole thing. But when that happens to you, it's called IgA nephropathy. And in younger people, that's one of the biggest causes of needing a kidney transplant, because you don't know that it's happening until it is literally too late. So, scary, but yeah, so that is how it all came to be.
It does sound terrifying.
Right.
We're very glad you're still with us.
Yes.
Now, Allie, I imagine it was terrifying for you as well as her sister. How much of a discussion did you have with yourself as far as making a decision to donate a kidney to Jennifer?
Yeah. So, I get that phone call that day. I'm teaching too, and my sister's calling me in the middle of the day, which just isn't typically there. And so she's calling me and telling me this, and I'm taking this all in. And of course, I'm driving myself to the hospital, and that it's something they're going to find out what's wrong, and it's no big deal. Like, that she's where she needs to be. They're going to take care of it. And, within that first 20 minutes of getting to the hospital, being with her and hearing the words, she's going to need a kidney transplant, it was just like instinctual, like, let me try. There's no reason that I shouldn't be able to. I'm young, I'm healthy. This is my only sister. This is my only sibling, period. So it wasn't even really a question in my brain. Of course, later on, I would call to talk to my husband about it and kind of have that discussion. But it wasn't a question. It was absolutely, how do I get started on the process? Just no thoughts. Just let's go. Let's try.
And then, Jennifer, could you have ever anticipated honestly, she gave you a part of herself. Could you have ever thought that?
I would like to say that I'm surprised, but I wasn't. When I was sitting there in the bed and she said, I'm going to give you my kidney and it's going to be okay and everything is going to be fine. And that's just kind of the relationship we've had, which our whole lives, which is kind of weird because my mom was worried when there was 9 years in between us. That wasn't her plan, but just with some fertility problems, that's what happened. And so we've always had just a super tight friendship and bond. And so I wasn't surprised, but there's not like a day that goes by that I am not just incredibly in awe of her, and that it was just so simple and just such a quick decision for her. So.
But now, did you guys experience all this in Northwest Arkansas? Is that where they did the transplant?
No. We went to, when I went to the emergency room, I went to Washington Regional, and we went through the nephrology clinic through there, which I have nothing but positive things to say. Was not upset with them at all that it took so long to get through, get into them. They were wonderful during the whole process. So whenever I was approved to be a kidney recipient, they were very honest with me about where they felt that my doctor actually said, you're the age of my daughter, and this is where I would want my daughter to go, which was Tulsa, the St. John's Ascension through Tulsa. That program is run very similar to Mayo, the Mayo Clinic, and Tulsa is a lot closer than the Mayo Clinic, and so that was my first choice. But when you are getting on a list, you want to be on as many as you can. So I was on the Tulsa list, St. Louis, and Mayo, to have a faster chance to get it sooner. And luckily, I guess, since I was so far gone, I didn't feel like it. I felt pretty fine after, I started dialysis. But I was far enough into needing one that I wasn't on the bottom of the list. So they kind of put you by need, and your dialysis time and all of that.
So even if you have a donor who's identified, you still have to wait.
You still have to get on a list, because you can have a donor, but your body might not be right for a transplant. You have to pass a ton of health tests. I think my first time I went in, it was 24 vials of blood taken. Then they do a lot of heart testing on you. They do, MRIs, and they with contrast or CT scans with contrast, without contrast. I think I've had every sort of test that you could possibly have done.
Well, and then about how much time passed from when it was identified that you needed to have a transplant and the surgery actually occurred?
It was a little over a year. I was I found out in April. I think it was like April 21st, I think is the date. And then I had my of 2022, and then I had my transplant on June 20 or July 20th of 2023. Yes.
Well, you both certainly had plenty of time to wrap your head around it, didn't you?
Yes.
So what was it like the day of the procedure? You know, what were you guys feeling and experiencing that day?
Gosh. So we got to Tulsa the night before, with, my husband, her husband, all of our family. And as much as I've thought that it would be just like this nerve-wracking night of not being able to sleep, there's this really weird sense of like calm and peace the entire night. Like we played like some card games the night before, like went to bed, woke up and kind of like, okay, finally, like we're here. Let's just do this. Let's get this done. And to me, I'm like, I thought I would be way more nervous because just medical stuff in general is a little bit nerve-wracking, a little bit scary, but I was just I was almost just excited.
Yeah,
like, let's do this. Let's go.
We were laughing and joking through the whole thing. I mean, just to be real honest, there's some very interesting prep that goes through the night before that we had to do, and we both had to do it, and we were just laughing and giggling through the whole thing. And the next morning, we were sitting together the whole time in there. Our poor mom, she was like, she was the one that was carrying all the nerves, and our dad was going through some health issues at home, so he was here with my girls, actually. And so, we were making jokes, and I don't think our mom appreciated that very much. But so, yeah, she went back first, and then I went back.
They let me come say bye to her right before. I think my surgery was about 3.5. But the time, like, in between, they say it's really crazy. Like, the time that they retrieve the kidney to, like, getting it into the recipient is, like, less than an hour.
Right.
So it's
fast. So they have to time it just like I went back, not at the end of her surgery, but kind of in the middle. And so the whole timing, and there's a nurse that's going back and forth between, ours was named Holly, and she's amazing, but it was going back and forth the whole time, kind of communicating with everybody. And the hardest part was like whenever we had to like separate. That part was, I think, the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys started in the same room, and then afterward for recovery, did you guys come back together then?
No, not until
not right away. I think maybe almost 24 hours later. I woke up. Gosh, our surgery was so early in the morning, but the rest of the day is just kind of a blur. So I do remember just being like waking up and being like, how's my sister? How is she? Can I go see her? And the doctors are like, not quite yet. But I think the next morning I was able to,
I was in ICU, and then she was on the recovery floor. And so there was a few floors difference. But waking up, I think another thing is we were so excited about the surgery and like getting this done. And I know for myself, in my mind, I just have to keep moving forward. So I was like, I'm just going to have this little procedure done, and I'm going to, it's going to be fine. But like, it's not a little procedure. And I woke up in the worst pain of my life. Like, and I've had 2 C-sections and other things. And it was a lot more painful than I think we both anticipated. But, so it took a little while to get all of that under control.
So what is the recovery for something like that look like? How are you guys both doing now?
Now, totally back to normal.
Yeah, 100% now. My recovery process was obviously much easier than hers, but I think I stayed in Tulsa for 2 nights at the hospital, and then my husband drove me back, and luckily we were still on summer break, so I kind of just got to take the next 3 weeks really easy. But I was able to start back on my contract day and did, my professional development and went back to school just as normal. Have an amazing school family, so they were able to come in every now and then when I needed a break just to like sit down or catch my breath. But really, outside of just like that initial discomfort, I feel like I was able to bounce back. I was feeling so much better within about 4 weeks.
Yeah, and for me, I after the surgery, I spent 2 or 3 nights in ICU. I can't remember. it was all kind of hazy from there. And then the day that she checked out, I moved into her room. And so I had the same nurses. So they really enjoyed that. They enjoyed getting to be her nurse and then getting to be mine. I had to go back in February of last year for a week for some infusions, and I had the same nurses again, and so it was really cool. But I stayed in the hospital, I think, about 5 or 6 days. They're really monitoring like your medications and getting all of your numbers right. And then after that, you have to stay in Tulsa for anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks. So I was super blessed. My husband and I, with a former student's parents, donated their travel trailer. And so we had a spot at a RV park. And so instead of having to pay for a hotel, they just donated that to my family, which was absolutely amazing and was such a financial blessing. And so we stayed there for, I was so afraid it was going to be 6 weeks. It ended up being exactly 2 weeks that we stayed there before I got to go home. And then after I was home, I still had to go to Tulsa every other day. So I know that drive very well. And very thankful for Arkansas roads. I will never complain about them ever again. No offense, Oklahoma, but got to work on those roads. So I feel like there were some processes of like taking out the staples and some other things. And so it probably took me about 6 to 7 weeks to like be completely pain-free. And then because your immune system is so low, you have to stay at home basically for a while. And that was the hardest part for me because I am not a stay at home all the time type of person, especially by myself because my kids were at school, my husband was at work, and it was not fun. So I was ready to go back, and I went back at the end of October. So
very super cool. Okay, so it sounds like it was a success.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what does the future look like? Is it something you just have to maintain, watch?
Well, we just passed the year mark on July 20th, and I just got cleared. Hopefully, I have my final blood work tomorrow, but I've been tentatively released from the transplant clinic, and I will now just be seeing a nephrologist once every 3 months. So, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and so they'll monitor my blood work. I'll probably still do blood work every month, but I won't see the doctor as often. And we're just praying that this kidney, which does have a name, we like to name things in my family. And so, yeah, my kidney's name is Barbie because the Barbie movie came out on the same day as the surgery.
I assume it's pink too.
Oh, yeah, very pink. And her remaining kidney is named Ken. So Barbie and Ken just made it a little bit more fun. So we're hoping, we call her Barb for short. We're hoping that Barb lasts a very long time. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, what do you guys think is the most challenging part of this experience?
Well, really, truly, I think the testing.
Oh, yeah, we had a big debacle.
Yeah, the testing process was a little bit more challenging than I think either one of us anticipated. So I started the testing immediately, like as soon as I was able to, and as soon as she was put on the kidney transplant list, I went through the process and filled out the paperwork and did all of the tests, like the routine tests that go with it. And I was initially, I had to do the test couple of times, and I was initially turned down. I was initially got a call saying, just based off of some of the numbers in your work, like, I really don't think that you're a match. Your blood work is a match, but there's some things that you should probably get looked at in your blood work and with your analysis. And it almost took me back for a second, and saw my primary care doctor, and some other friends went through the testing process at that time. And so we had almost kind of put the thought to bed of okay, right. It's not me.
We had, I was super blessed. I cannot even explain to you how blessed I felt during this process, because I had a number of people that lined up and went to go get tested Sorry, it makes me a little teary-eyed. But I had several friends at work that went through the process. I think of one of my friends, one of my best friends, who she knew she wasn't going to qualify, but she did it anyway. Love you, Janelle. But one teacher, so they were all getting denied for the same reason that my sister was. And it was just really odd that it was all for the same reason. And so luckily, Tulsa started to get suspicious after like the fourth person that
testing is done here.
Yeah, the testing was done here, and then they would send the results. And so upon investigations, they realized that the testing lab here was not transporting the, like you have to do a 24-hour urinalysis test, and they were not transporting it correctly. It has to be taken, I think, to Texas. Texas, yeah. And anyway, they weren't transporting it correctly, which was making the sample not valid anymore. So once they figured that out, it was almost immediate. Like my sister emailed and said, "Hey, like now that we know this, can we get it? Can we try this again?" And so they did it again, and we were told within like a week that she was. And at the same time, she was cleared to be a donor. A friend at work was also cleared to be a donor too. So at the time, I had two options to go with. And, they say like family is your, genetically will be the best match for you. But my friend at work also was a match. And I don't want to tell her story for her, but I'm going to brag on her in that she, my time had gone on, she was asked if she wanted to continue on to be a donor, and she actually donated her kidney this summer to an anonymous person. So, yes.
That's so amazing. And yeah, and awesome. Praise God that you guys figured out, or they figured out it was an issue, because how many families were impacted by the way materials were being transported? Right. So, gosh, yay that you were there, that you asked. So, or that they got suspicious, I should say. So, is there anything you guys learned about each other as sisters through this experience?
Okay, I'm going to do this without maybe looking at you, but I just learned, I've always known that my sister's my role model. Like, she's 9 years older than me. She's going through the teaching process whenever I, knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I got to see her go through it. I got to kind of watch her along the way. So I always knew that my sister was like my role model. But man, seeing her like navigate this whole process with being a mom, being a wife, being a teacher, nothing ever faltered. I feel like I know she probably feels differently, but from the moment that she found out, dialysis port going in, you need a transplant, to the moment that we're done with surgery, I feel like she never faltered. Like she was so strong the entire process. I was just in awe of her. And so I always knew how strong she was, and I always looked up to that. But that's just something that this is, instilled even more, that, wow, she is an amazing person, a strong person, and somebody that I'm just blessed to have in my life. So.
And for her, like I say all the time, even though she's older than me, she's my hero. Just in things that she's always just been a very selfless person. And I remember whenever she was interning at Bayari, she decided that she wanted to give every kid in the grade level, not just her class, but she wanted to get them all a toy for, Christmas. And so like she started a toy drive and all of these things so that her kids could get that. And, I was just in awe of seeing, her passion. And it was really cool because I knew how much I loved teaching and how much teaching was such a big part of my life. And then to see my little sister do it and do it so amazingly, like it was just, it's just been cool watching her. And then, like I said, that day in the hospital, whenever there was just not even a flinch, when she's like, "Oh no, I'm going to donate your kidney, or my kidney, it's going to be fine. Like, it's totally fine." And so the whole time she's probably been one of my biggest cheerleaders of just reassuring me and being there for me and checking on me. And we call each other on the way to work every morning. If we don't talk to each other, it's like really weird. Like the whole day doesn't feel right. And so, but yeah, I think it's strengthened our friendship and our bond even more, for sure. So
You literally can't get rid of me.
I can. I know I'm stuck. Yeah, because fun fact, they don't take out your kidneys. Like, so I still have my old kidneys, and now I have her new kidney. And then if I ever get another kidney, like if I have to later on in my life, like a long time from now, then they would keep that one. I would keep the one that she gave me, and I would then have 4 kidneys. So
On TV, they always show them taking out the old kidney.
yeah,
Liver, whatever they're taking out. So now we're smarter. We learned something today that we didn't know before we started this interview.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful you both have each other in your lives and that you shared your story with us today. Is there anything that you want to add to the conversation that maybe we didn't touch on?
I just want to add that if you don't feel right, like, and I had all that time at home to sit and think while I couldn't go back to work. But like, there was, when I've looked back in hindsight, if you're having like a lot of symptoms of things that, and you can, I'm an excuse maker for things like, oh, well, that's just this or that's just this. But if something doesn't feel right with your body, like you need to get it checked out. Don't avoid it. And then also like, I think sometimes as teachers, we put everything before ourselves. And we don't always take the time to take care of ourselves. And that's, going into year 19, this is year 19, I just want to advocate that teachers take time for their physical health and, and your mental health too. Like, don't wait on it because it's really important.
Allie, what about you? Anything else that you'd like to add?
I guess maybe I just want to say thank you to, obviously all of my family and friends, but really all of our Springdale family, like all of our fellow teacher friends, everyone at my school, everybody in the Springdale community. Gosh, we've had so many people reach out and, what do you need along this process, or how can we help? Or after, both surgeries, gosh, just the outpouring of love from the Springdale community in general. It's been amazing. And I don't know if I can ever adequately say thank you, but they have been amazing.
We were both blessed with awesome school families. So definitely could not have made it through without my school family for sure.
Perfect. Thank you again for both being here with us. And I hope this is the hardest thing you have to do this week is having this conversation. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you.
Springdale Today is a production of the Springdale Public Schools Communications Office.
The podcast is hosted by Mary Jordan and is produced and edited by Micah DeLacy.
Be sure to subscribe to Springdale Today for free on your favorite podcast platform.
And don't forget to follow Springdale Today on social media for episode updates
and behind-the-scenes conversations.
Thank you for listening. We hope you will join us in the future as we continue to learn about the amazing stories happening in Springdale today.